Welcome to the CEO Shift with your host, Shawndel Spader, owner and CEO of Spader Group. In this series, you'll hear fast, focused conversations with business leaders and experts who've made the real shift it takes to scale past the plateau. Each episode delivers high-impact insights designed to help you cut through the noise, make smarter decisions, and lead with clarity.
Thank you for joining in on the CEO Shift today. I am excited to bring Susan Baier. She is a professional speaker, researcher, and thought leadership strategist with Audience Audit. So, Susan is the founder and CEO of the research agency Audience Audit. She's been a marketing strategist and researcher for 40 years and helps agencies understand their audiences, support clients, and build their reputation and ROI with research. Mostly, Susan tries to always be relentlessly helpful, and failing that,
Relentless
I
will do.
relentless will do. In my practice, I stumbled on that statement. So thank you for picking it up, Susan. I
Of course.
appreciate you.
My pleasure. Awesome to be here, Shawndel.
Well, again, we're just going to roll with it because that's what
Yeah,
we do, right?
that's what we do.
So,
Embrace the authenticity. That's right.
yes, I love it. Well, again, thank you for being here. I'm super excited because every time you and I have an opportunity to hang out and just brainstorm and talk business and do all the things, like it's so moving, right? Like I could take pages and pages of notes. I could just dive in and like uproot and change things
It's fun
tenfold,
and
right?
it's fun and a learning opportunity for both of us, I find, because I get just as much from
Oh,
you. So this is going to be fun. I love it.
well,
We'll see if we
thank
can
you.
keep it to 15 minutes.
Ooh, challenge number one accepted.
That's right.
All right. So as we're diving in, I don't know how you pick just one zone of genius, honestly, but I really do like I want to dive more into that relentlessly helpful because I think that that's one of my favorite pieces about you of how authentically you are just genuinely relentlessly helpful every time you turn a corner. Um, but I want to dive in. Please share like your zone of genius. Where do you show up? How do you make an impact? What do you bring to the table, that really moves people?
Hmm. Um, I don't know whether it's a zone of genius or a personality defect, but I I do I do sort of automatically look to how can I help. My mom was very much like this to a fault. My brother and sister and I all agree, and I think my husband would agree that I do it to a fault too. It's sort of just one of those things. It's just my sort of natural instinct to go to how can I help. And I had some experiences early on that demonstrated to me the power of that when you put that into place. Like what happens from a relationship standpoint, from a personal standpoint, and eventually I learned from a business standpoint. Like it's just
Right.
something, I think it's something that people don't expect to experience. We're all pretty jaded and the world can be tough. And I think that when you do experience that from someone really feeling like they want to help you and are going out of their way to try to do that in a variety of ways, it's arresting because it's uncommon. And I think it's uncommon in business, and I don't think it should be.
Yeah.
So for me, it's just the way I, I can't really help myself. But I think for all of us, it's something that we can learn to incorporate into our business
Mhm.
relationships and also learn to manage so that we don't go overboard and end up, really just giving more than we have to give or being taken advantage of or those kinds of things, which takes time too. I mean, I think a lot of people I know who are very helpful are sometimes that to a fault where they're not paying attention to themselves. They're not taking care of
Yeah.
themselves. Everybody else comes first. And I'm certainly guilty of that too. So I think it's something that's really powerful and there's a way to do it and learn how to do it that works for everybody, works for you and the folks that you are trying to help out. So that's kind of my that's kind of my mission is to try to help people understand that it's not a weakness. It's not something that needs to be kept outside of the business framework. In fact, it's something that we should bring in, but we need to learn to use responsibly, as they say.
Right, right. I'm hearing something about oxygen masks coming into your mouth first before
Exactly.
helping other
That's
yes.
exactly right. Right. Like
Yep,
just working yourself till you can't sit up and be of help to anybody anymore, sort of those kinds of
right.
things, which we've all experienced, I'm sure.
Well, I think that's part of the natural journey of a business owner, right? Like grind, grind,
Mhm.
grind, grind. You're the only person, you're the one who can you're the only one, not just the one,
Yes.
right? You're the only one who can push the needle forward. You're the only one who can accomplish XYZ. And I think as those of us who are recovering do-it-alls
Yes,
and really want to step into that CEO space, like this is an art. It is practiced. It
it
is
is.
learned. It's not expected to just be natural.
Right.
Is being helpful, is showing up and doing these things. Can it be natural for some and harder for others? Sure.
You
But
bet.
at the end of the day, even for those who, lead, like you had to put some safeguards around your helpfulness to others, I'm sure,
Yep.
right? Like you said, not running yourself to a point of zero so that you couldn't be helpful.
Both personally and professionally, I think.
Yeah.
Those were hard lessons to learn. But I think they're important lessons to learn. I think especially in business, but not exclusively in business, um, you have to keep your eye on the ultimate goals that you have, whatever those may be. I want to support my family. I want to make sure I have time with my family. I want to enjoy things that I enjoy doing. I want to try to, stay healthy. All of those kinds of things. Um, it can be easy to lose sight of those things when your focus is exclusively on I was really raised to believe that my job as a woman was to reduce and eliminate discomfort for everyone around me. Like my job
Mm,
was just to make things better for everybody else. And
peacekeeper.
yeah, and just to always be there to help, just to always, even at your own sacrifice. That's just sort of how my mom was, and that's just sort of what I grew up in. Um,
Yeah.
and it's lovely, but it's unsustainable ultimately. If all you're doing is sacrificing yourself for other people, there's nothing left for you to give. And that can be true in business too. And I think
Yeah.
business has the additional challenge for us, I think, of often supporting our families, contributing to that. And so we feel that additional pressure to um, do things to make our clients or prospects like us, want to
Mhm.
hire us, want to stay with us, that ultimately can be damaging to your business and damaging to you as the leader of that business and to your team. So you really
Yeah.
have to sort of keep your eye on what's my ultimate goal here? How can I do this within the context of my ultimate goal without subverting what I'm really trying to accomplish, which, I think for most leaders is a healthy, happy team, a healthy, happy business, a sustainable business, a manageable lifestyle between work and life, and satisfaction in what we do. Those are sort of the big things we want to keep doing. So you do have to sort of keep those things in mind. I have a thing I wrote on the top of my whiteboard that just says that it just reminds me to focus on doing the right things in the right ways for the right reasons. And we can all
Mhm.
decide what those reasons are and what those ways are and what those things are based on what we want, right, for our business.
So
But
I heard you say that phrase
mm,
within the last year,
mm-hmm.
and it's literally sitting on my desk because I
it's
love it. Like,
it's a good reminder, right? It's not like
yes,
you have to pump out 80 pieces of content a week. It's not you have to
right.
make X amount of money. It's not,
Yep.
those kinds of things. They're for each of us to decide. But I think once you decide, and you have to start at the end, what are the reasons that you're doing what you're doing in your business? Like, what are those things that are really driving you? And I have those things written down on the whiteboard below the right reasons. What are the right reasons? What am I trying to accomplish? So given the reasons that I'm doing things, what do I believe is the right way to do things? Right? And for me, those are things like, ethically, transparently, whatever. Those are things that are important to me in my role as a research provider and an advisor for my clients, right? And then back up to what are the things. So given that context of the reasons I'm doing the work I do, the ways in which I believe I need to do that work, what are the things that I need to be focusing on? Because what I've seen, and I'm sure no one listening is any different than me in this, I just have a million things running around in my head that are taking up time and saying, well, you need to do this, you need to do that. I feel that pressure, particularly with respect to content and stuff like that. And, I teach thought leadership. I teach like you need to be out there helping with what you know. So I believe in the concept, but I've done a lot of thinking about the reasons and the ways and the things around that make sense to me for my business. And I think it's just, for me, it's just a daily reminder of like, stay focused on what you're really here to do in your own mind, nobody else's, you know?
Well, and I love that you've intertwined this idea that like this works personally and it works in business, right? Because I
Mm-hmm.
think for us as, my early days, I feel like I was like, okay, from, 9 to 5, whatever,
Right.
I'm a business owner.
Right.
That didn't mean I wasn't a mom, I wasn't a wife, I wasn't a friend, I wasn't all the other things that I have. I wasn't the house cleaner, the meal prepper,
Right.
like sure, my husband does a lot of the same things too, but at the same time, like I don't just get to walk into my office and be just the
Right.
CEO or just the business owner, just the salesperson. Um, so having that continuity between both sides, I think it's just more authentic, right? Like
It it
it's less
it
laborsome.
is. It is. And I think for me, I'm going to be well, let's see, 62 in a few months. And I didn't start having my own business for years. I didn't start as an entrepreneur. I started working in agencies and big corporations, Fortune 100
Right.
companies. And I think that this idea of what am I doing and why am I doing that honestly just didn't occur to me. Like beyond, I need a job. I need to pay rent. I need to feed my family. Those things that we are all like, this is just what's expected of us. So I didn't really have that sort
Right.
of insight for many, many years. And certainly I found in corporate in particular why you're doing something philosophically. What are the reasons behind your work?
Mhm.
That wasn't really a priority or anything anybody talked about. And
Mhm.
I know a lot of people who have gone from corporate into entrepreneurship or leadership in another framework, a small business or whatever it is, who never sort of left behind those expectations that were established for them culturally when they worked in corporate. You will work from 8 to 5 Monday through Friday.
Right.
You will work overtime. You will eat lunch at your desk. Whatever those things are, you will do what is expected of you. For me, it took it took a while to be like, hold on a minute, this is my
Right.
business now. I don't have to do those things that way. That's not the only way to work. And that doesn't work very
Yeah.
well for me. I mean, my son Andrew was born. I was working at a big Fortune 100 consumer products company, and he was in daycare at 6 weeks,
Yeah.
you know, and I didn't think twice about it. It was like I had to get back to work,
Yeah.
you
It's
know.
just what you did.
It's just
Yeah.
what everybody did.
Yep.
And I think, especially for women, it's been a real challenge to manage our lives and the expectations of sort of corporate roles. And so, part of my goal, whether I'm working with somebody who is in a company that they don't own, but is in a leadership role, or has started a company or an agency or whatever, right, is to remind all of us that we can do things differently. We can structure our lives and our work to align with what we think is important and recognize the sacrifices that we are making to be able to do that and and get payback for that. How many people do you know who never take time off as an entrepreneur?
Right.
And I'm like, do you realize the costs of all kinds that you are incurring as an entrepreneur? What it costs you for health insurance, the risk that your family bears, because, my
Right.
husband and I both work in the same business. We both work in our business. All our eggs are in
Right.
one basket, right? That's a lot of
Right.
risk. So if you're going to carry that risk, what is the payoff to you? Well, you
Right.
should consider taking time off. You should consider working when it works for you, not necessarily on the traditional Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, 7 to 5, 7 to 7 schedule.
Right.
And if you don't, you're just leaving that benefit on the table when you're paying dearly for it. And when I started working, you couldn't work remotely. It wasn't a thing. Well, now
Right.
my husband and I spend 2 months away in the woods. We work from where we are, but it's something that I never would have imagined for myself. And probably most of us are like, oh, I could never, do that. Think about whether you could, and what an ideal work life means to you and how you can work towards making that happen. I work
Yeah.
hard, you work hard, but
Yep.
we both prioritize time. I know you do this too, and I love to see your posts when you do stuff during the summer with your family and those trips and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And it may seem out of reach. It truly isn't. You have to decide that it's
Yeah.
in reach. And if it's based on this awareness, and maybe you haven't really thought about it, like, what are my reasons for working? Why do I do the stuff I do instead of something else?
Right.
What's important to me? you know,
Yep.
and then really sort of work to craft things around that. Doesn't mean it's going to get there overnight, but it's a good effort, I think.
Right.
And that's being
So,
helpful to yourself.
right. Well, so to be able to kind of hone in on this, right? Like you
Yeah.
mentioned traveling to the woods
Yep.
for 2 months, being able to still be there, work, you know,
Yep.
just because we're not sitting at our desk doesn't mean we can't be productive, doesn't mean we're not,
That's right.
still the same person, right? You're still the
Right.
same person with the same thoughts, the same brain, maybe even a better one from the woods because now
Yep.
we're like able to step away and be relaxed and rejuvenated and all those things too, right?
Yep.
Um, so yeah, I mean, what what do you feel was your big shift for making that a reality? Like I think about us and
Mm,
ours, when my husband left corporate, our whole world expanded,
yes.
right? Like it was like we're not tied to Monday through
Right.
Friday. We're not tied. Now, we've got kids, we're tied to a school schedule because I refuse to homeschool.
Right.
But the summer, we're not tied, right? We get to do what we want to do and we get to make those plans. For you, what was that shift to be able to say, okay, this is what I'm prioritizing, or this is how we want to show up?
Well, honestly, sometimes I think these shifts happen because of something negative that you experience.
Mm,
The first time I left corporate to start my own consultancy was because I just couldn't stand it anymore. It was just killing me.
fair,
I hated it.
fair.
The second time when I started the agency is because I got laid off during the
Okay.
recession. And I was like, I'm not going to work for anybody else again. I want to do the work I want to do.
Doing this
And that
again.
was going to
Yeah.
be my thing. Um, but the other thing that really made it possible for me was learning how to say no to things that
Ooh,
didn't fit within that. What are my reasons? What are my values about how work should be done? What are the things I need to focus on? You have to be to focus on those. You have to be able to say no to other things.
the noise.
Yeah, for me, it's the things that make me crazy. So, for example, working with clients who don't value the things that are important to us, that don't pay reasonably or expect to pay reasonably for services, those things drive me crazy. I say no to those things.
Mhm.
I it's funny because my sister, I was planning a trip out to see my sister before Thanksgiving. I called her yesterday and I said, I can't come. I got a whole bunch of stuff going on. There's a lot going on with the family, and I just don't feel good being away. And she was like, that's fine. She goes, I'm really proud of you for deciding that, because
Nice.
my brother and sister know that it was very difficult to say no to things. And I have learned to do that over time. And the way I learned to do it was by having experiences where I didn't say no and I got screwed, and
Mhm.
well that for 2 or 3 years there, my like mantra was F that, F you, and F off. Like I was angry about being taken
Yeah.
advantage of. I
Yeah.
was, I was, I was really frustrated, and I had to get
Oh,
angry to be like, you know what? No, these are the things I'm going to say no to. And that doesn't mean you have to say F off to somebody, but you have to say it in your head to be like, this does not serve the goals I've laid out for myself, the values that I've established for myself. I've got to say no. And I think saying no for me and learning to say no was a huge turning point for me. And I actually, Shawndel, had to come up with a way to say it and practice it so that I
oh,
could do that. So what I started saying is, yeah, we don't do that. When I would get asked like, oh, could you do this for us? Or could you do that for us? Or could you get that done in 2 weeks or whatever? I learned to say, yeah, we don't do that. And here's why. Here's what we do and why we do that. But yeah,
mhm.
we don't do that. And that was it. I just got so used to saying it. I have to say it very rarely now because I don't get
Yeah.
prospects who want things that we don't do or I don't want to do, because that's not how I marketed my business, right? But for a
Right.
while, I heard it a lot because people were like, oh, hey, I heard you're a marketing person and I want to see if you can help me buy some media. And I would learn to say, yeah, I don't do that. We don't do that.
Right.
So saying no was a big thing. And I think learning how to say no to the wrong things allow you to say yes to the right things. Here's a perfect example that's relevant to you. So you and I have known each other for a long time, and you know that for a long time I've wanted your help from a financial standpoint with the work that you do for
Yeah.
businesses. And we've been in a big initiative over the last couple of years to really right size the agency, to right size our overhead, to focus on our profitability. And that took a lot of work. That took pricing work, that took product work, that took a lot of cutting the overhead in half and then going back and cutting it again and cutting it again. And
And don't forget it took a lot of accountability on your part,
it did. Thank
holding
you. And
yourself accountable.
it did. It just was like, we gotta get this thing working the way it should be working. And it was a lot of work. And at the end of that, I was so happy with all that. And then I was still struggling with something that drove me crazy, which was the monthly being able to stay on top of my numbers all the time,
Mhm.
right? Because that whole effort was an effort to build our profitability and make sure it showed up every single month, right?
Yeah.
That it wasn't something that I was like, hey, let's look at the month numbers and see if we made any money. No, it's planning ahead
Right.
of time to make money
Yes.
and then watching that and being validated when those numbers come out and say, yep, that's about what we expected for this month, or that's a little more. And so I got to this point where I'd done all this overhead work. And then I was like, this is still bothering me because I run a very small business staff wise.
Mhm.
We do a lot of work and I do a lot of that work. I'm very much in my business. I love the work I do, but it means that I have little time to handle a lot of other things. And it was really time consuming for me to try to manage my books and keep them up to date and accurate so that I had a good picture. But working with you was going to mean that I had to add some overhead. I was going to have to add an
Yep.
expense. And Ron and I talked about it a lot. And the reason I hired you was because the cost of not hiring you was worse. The cost of my anxiety and stress, and also not having the numbers I needed to run
Mhm.
my business and not having them accurate when I looked at them was a problem. And having to work
Yep.
4 hours to get them accurate was not going to happen and was not happening. So eventually I decided, to say yes to you because I decided to say no to that anxiety and that lack of insight into my business, which was an essential tool for running my business successfully. And as I told you before we started recording, this year we've been profitable every year. We've got on average 40% profit of our AGI every single month this year. And
So incredible.
that's discipline. That's been a function of discipline, but it's also a function of having what I need to be able to manage the business. And sometimes that's an expense. Sometimes that's time off with my family so that my mental health is good. Sometimes, whatever, we incur these costs against our
Yes.
job. It's not that we should incur them, but we need to be sensible and thoughtful and strategic about which ones are worth incurring and which ones aren't. So for me, it's been, what are the pain points I'm experiencing? That in both cases, when I started my own business, it was because of a pain point that I was experiencing, and the business was going to help me not experience that. And then learning to really stay focused and be able to say no to the things that don't fit, so that you can
Right.
say yes to the things that do.
Right. No, that that whole idea of no years ago, and I'm so grateful because early on in my business, like within the first year, I had heard somebody speaking on stage, and she literally said, through this whole thing of like,
Mm-hmm.
make sure that you're only taking on what resonates, what aligns, all
Mm-hmm.
of these things. And I heard all of that. My ears didn't totally perk up until she literally said, "No" is a full sentence.
No is a full sentence.
And I was like, "Oh my gosh."
Right. And
Like,
and
mind blowing, right?
and I think there's this cultural thing around a lifestyle business, around like,
Yeah.
don't tell people to do what they love. Don't tell people to do this. I think that's a load of crap. I think that it's absolutely acceptable. In fact, it's your responsibility to build a business or work in a business in which your work is rewarding and rewarded in whatever way you measure that. That is your responsibility. I think we only go around once. You've got to get this right. And there's nothing that says that that's a bad thing to do or a ditzy thing to do or a girly thing to do. I'm just done with that. Like,
Yeah.
that's what allows me to build the business I have and to work in it every single day. That's nothing to apologize for, you know?
No,
And I think sometimes
no.
there's this sense that like, oh, work shouldn't be fun. It should be a slog. That means it's work, no, absolutely not true. And
Yeah, if it's not hard and painful, then did you really do it right? Yeah,
right,
I
right.
did. I actually
And
did it better than right.
that's right. And for me, this idea of being relentlessly helpful is a core way I walk through the world. It's important to me. It's good for my mental health.
Yeah,
It makes me feel rewarded for my time here. And so it's important for me. And I also know the impact it has on other people. So part of my do things in
absolutely.
the right way is make time to have conversations with people that I care about, reach out and see if I can be of help. Because we all
Yep.
need that. We need that contact now more than ever. And I don't work in a big office. I work from home. I don't see people all the time. So this is something I've built into my rhythm of my business,
Mm,
is to do things to help people, to talk to people, to help people, because it feeds me and it feeds them, and it's something I deeply believe in. It's part of the reason I think I'm here. It's part of the
love it.
purpose of my life. So for me, it's rewarding. I know that for all of us humans, the way the brain works, it's rewarding. Even if you don't know the mechanics behind that,
Right,
from a psychological standpoint, it's so good
right.
for you to help somebody else. And to feel appreciated for that help is really good for you, and it's good for them. So I think that's
And
just one of the things that elevates all of us. And more of us should know that it's okay to do that and how to do that well and how to do it responsibly without killing yourself.
well, I think part of that help though too is, we offer you especially, you offer this help. You do it in a way that isn't expectant of anything. Now, do you get rewarded for showing up and helping others out of the kindness of your heart genuinely? Absolutely. I hope you
Yeah.
do, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what makes this world go round. And I think when people see you lead with that, It encourages them. It sparks a new idea in a way that they can, whether it's being helpful back to you or helpful to others, and continuing the
Yep.
cycle. I think if you could actually measure, well, you are the research gal, so maybe you can. um, but like if you could really truly measure the ripple effect that
Yeah.
that has, like, wow, what a wonderful place this world, could.
I just believe it's there. When
Yeah.
I speak about this and I talk to audiences about some of the experiences that I've had with people demonstrating this to me. It had a lifelong impact on me, and I can see them understand that and relate to that because almost all of us have had someone who went out of their way with no expectation of anything, completely
Yep.
unexpectedly, at their own sacrifice of time, of
Yep.
whatever, to do something nice for us. And that's just like, wow, that has an impact on you. And
Yeah.
that shows you what you can do too. So I believe that ripple is there because I see it in audiences when I speak
Absolutely.
and I hear about it from people. And, that's great. That's great. We can all have a little bit of an impact that I think is beyond what people traditionally think of as their impact as a business leader.
Right.
It's not just the good
Right.
work that your company does, it's
Hmm.
sharing what you know, what you've learned. It's so funny. People are always surprised to hear that I think it's really valuable to share what you've learned as a business owner, not just what you know about research or managing your books or the work you do, right? But what
Yeah.
you've learned as a leader, which is what this series is all about, which I really, really love.
100%. Yeah.
It's like we have a lot to share with just our experiences going through life
Yeah.
that can really help somebody else. So there's so many
Yeah.
opportunities to just share the person you are and what got you here. That's going to
Yeah.
help somebody. It's going to resonate with somebody. Doesn't need to resonate with everybody. Just one person, and that's an impact.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Well, okay. So how do folks get in touch with you? I like there's no good space. And I feel like I say this at the end of all of them, like, oh my gosh, we could do this for hours because we
yeah,
could. I love these conversations. I just it's like the one-on-one kind of masterminding for the masses, right?
yeah.
And I love it. So
I love it too.
tell me, or tell everybody, I guess, how does somebody get in touch with
Oh,
you
geez.
to learn more, whether it's.
I hate social media right now. I'm just really reevaluating my life around social media. Um, but I am on Facebook and LinkedIn, and you can always just
Okay.
email me, Susan at audienceaudit.com. I'm always happy to talk to people about, being a business owner, about building a reputation and trust with their audience, about, um, just work, life. I don't know, whatever. How can I help? And how else can I help? Right? That's the
Right,
next
right,
question.
right. And now that we
So,
have that, how can I do it again?
that's right. How else can I
I
help?
love it.
Yeah, yeah, for
I
sure. So,
love it.
yeah.
Well, I think you have been a huge help you're always a huge help for me. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sure this has been helpful for listeners as well, and I look forward to getting it out there. Thank you for joining us. This has
It's
absolutely been a pleasure.
it's been my pleasure too. Thank you for having me, Shawndel.
Of course. Take care, Susan. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us for the CEO Shift. If today's conversations challenged your thinking or helped you see your business differently, it's time to put what you learned into action. If you want practical guidance on making better CEO level decisions, download the CEO Decision Guide now. This framework is what leaders use to stop spinning their wheels and start scaling with clarity. Download your free copy at spadergroup.com/CEO-guide and start making decisions like a CEO today. We'll see you next time on the CEO Shift.